was wondering, do you think that the evolution of technology is making innovation easier or harder? We've heard that the idea that things are accelerating is going faster and faster, and we're getting closer to this concept of the singularity. But also, before we started recording, we talked about how FinTech is still facing challenges reaching commercial success. What are your thoughts in terms of whether it's easier or harder?
One of the great questions about innovation that we've always asked is, does innovation accelerate or decelerate, or what are the factors that push one way or the other? So one obvious factor that pushes for acceleration is that the more we learn, the more we can use to learn more. That is, all the things we learn, all the tools we have enable research and trials and innovation efforts all the more. On the other hand, we have the low-hanging fruit thing, which is we try the best looking ideas first, and then later on, what we have are the leftover ideas that we didn't try the first time. And those seem to roughly balance over history, except at sort of big bursts like the Industrial Revolution and the Farming Revolution. But I think another factor that's unfortunately been weighing down is just increasing regulation and comfort. So a lot of innovation is driven by people who are desperate enough to be willing to try substantial changes. They aren't comfortable where they are, and they need to do something. So the more rich and comfortable we all get, and the more secure we get, the less eager we are to try new things. I mean, we'd like to try a thing that was only an upside, but there's almost always a downside as well, if just wasted time and effort and embarrassment. So most organizations over long times of peace and prosperity, organizations and people have just been getting comfortable and just less willing to tolerate big changes. And that means big innovation is really getting cut back. Now, you can separate innovation into sort of big changes that are really noticeable and require, a long time to see, and lots of little small innovation where you don't have to take as big a risk. And small innovation is where most of the total innovation is, but it can't happen unless you also sometimes have the more rare big innovations. And I fear that we're just not allowing as many big innovations as we used to. And so we're concentrating our innovation efforts into the few areas where innovation is allowed. And that's, in some sense, one of the main attractive features that FinTech has always advertised the world, is that, hey, here you can do innovation because you can get away with it because, hey, the regulators can't really get here. They'll have trouble regulating this. And therefore, that's been one of the stories people have given about FinTech. And of course, it's not entirely obvious that that's true in the sense that most of the organizations and people who are doing the actual innovation are not hiding themselves from government and, wearing blackface and, hiding their voice on things like this. They're showing up at conferences. They have public companies which have addresses and things like that. So it's not actually clear that FinTech really can evade regulation more easily than other technologies. Although regulators have backed off for a little while and given them space, the regulators, when they feel like it, looks like they can come in and stomp all over whatever they want to.